self-worth, and self-respect. How do we know what we deserve out of life? How do we learn this? Many people struggle with low self-esteem and low self-worth. You can see it in their day-to-day life. They go to a job every day that they hate. They come home to a spouse they despise. And they live a life that they never dreamed they would live. When we're all kids, we fantasize about what our adult life will be. And usually it's made to be perfect. We think about our perfect spouse. We think about what our children would be like, what kind of house we're going to live in, the car that we're going to drive, our dream job that we're going to have. Most of us dream of having all the money in the world, having everything at our disposal. Pretty much a fantasy. And during that creation, we feel that's what we deserve to have. But many of us grow up to settle for way less than that. Now, they say that self-esteem and self-worth is created in childhood. That the parents are responsible for building the child's self-worth and value. That the parent should make sure to instill certain values within that child to make sure that the child grows up to have worth. Self-worth and self-esteem will have an influence over all areas of a person's adult life. Someone with low self-esteem, less than perfect self-worth, will often settle in all areas of their life. This is because they lack belief in their self. When you do not believe in yourself, you will not achieve your goals, most likely. Let's say you're growing up. You have parents who are neglectful or even just too busy. See, some of us don't have abusive parents. We weren't raised in a bad household, but our parent had to work 80-hour weeks and didn't have time for us. As much time to instill the important things within us. So we end up growing up depleted of that. And so, back to the point I was making, when you do not have worth, value, then I guess you lack a sense of self. Many of us don't know who we truly are and what we want out of life. We have no idea what to expect, what to put up with, how to treat others, how others should treat us in return. This is all connected to your self-worth, your value, and your sense of self. Now, if, let's say, two children raised in the same household, one was given love and support, one was made to believe that he could accomplish everything that he wanted to accomplish, one was made to feel attractive. Now the other was made to feel like there was always something wrong with her, that she was less than perfect. Her parents often criticized her, complained about her behavior. Now these two people can grow up and one would be very self-assured. He would know exactly what he wants out of life. He would know what he deserves. As a matter of fact, the way his parents treated him as a youngster would be the standard by which all future relationships, whether they be intimate relationships or even work relationships or friendships, that would all be measured against how he was raised, how he was treated, and what he has become comfortable with or accustomed to. Now, the female, on the other hand, who was criticized by her parents, was never seen as good enough. She will grow up with a less than perfect sense of self. She will expect people to criticize her, and when they do, she will see it as normal. She will not know to expect more. She will take the job that she does not want. She will take the spouse who mistreats her, and she will settle for the situation that makes her miserable. So, self worth. For those of us who were not fortunate enough to have parents who were supportive and understanding and nurturing, we grow up to lack true self worth. Now it's up to us in our adult years, and the earlier the better, but it's never too late, to discover who we are and what we want out of life. We have to search deep within ourselves to find ourselves. We have to do some heavy soul searching. This is very difficult for most people. It means being introspective, taking a real honest look at ourselves. Once we figure out who we are, it's a good idea to figure out what our weaknesses are and even our strengths. But we must know our weaknesses. Once we discovered all these things, then the next step would be to figure out what we value in this world, how we want to be treated, and how we would like to treat others. We must set boundaries in all areas. We must decide what we deserve, and we must stick to it. We must determine what we will put up with from others. We must determine what we will settle for out of life. This is very important. We must also be careful not to let others in our world who will further damage our self-worth and sense of self. The world is filled with damaged people who go around hurting and damaging others and creating more pain and more lack. So we need to stay away from those people and make sure also that we are not one of those people who go around hurting others because we don't know who we are. We've been hurt in our past. We don't know what we deserve, so we manipulate and hurt. It's time for discovery. We need to discover ourself. We need to build ourself. If we were not fortunate enough to come from a background, family of solid foundation and values and sense of who we are, then it's up to us to work on ourselves. The road is gonna be bumpy and rough, but you owe it to yourself. You have one life to live, and you cannot live it being worthless. You have to find yourself.